What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jackpot DFS, man. Gonna get you guys a final look out for this week. COVID's ramping crazy, man. It's been kind of nuts this week with like every day it's like COVID's another player going down with COVID or put on the COVID injured list. So just keep an eye on that. Make sure nothing changes over the night before tomorrow's slates begin. All it takes is a couple positive tests, and then who you know, the game may be called off or something. We haven't seen anything like that yet, but it's not impossible to happen. If some team just has an outbreak, morning of or something like that, they're going to test these guys daily, especially game day. It's getting kind of nuts here lately, but hopefully if it stays down to like one positive, games continue and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it won't be anything crazy, but just something to keep an eye out on. Moving on to quarterbacks for the week. You guys caught me over with DFS Bachelor on Tuesday for the first look. Again, if you guys aren't following him, please do so. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. You guys can also follow me on Twitter. I usually tag that on my videos, so you guys can follow me there. And also, please share the content, guys. It helps grow the channel. We do this for free. There's no bells and whistles attached to this. We don't get any Tootsie Rolls or paychecks. Just something I do for free to kind of give an outlook on the DFS slates. But moving on, guys, for the quarterbacks of the slate, obviously Lamar Jackson's in a good spot tomorrow. He's going against a bad defense in Philadelphia. I expect him to be he's the highest owned or highest projected salary on the slate. He's only 5% owned for a good reason. I mean, there's lots of good quarterback ways to go this slate. He didn't do a lot on his feet last week, so it kind of probably kind of stood some people off of him this week. I don't expect that to stay as a cliche for him. He's usually pretty good on his feet, and he's going to continue to run on his feet. I don't expect that to be maybe just a weak thing that he did last week, and I expect him to be out there being usual Lamar Jackson this week. But obviously in play, not my favorite quarterback on the slate, but obviously is in play. You just never know, this guy could run for 4 touchdowns in just any possible game. So this just in my eyes is obviously in play. Moving on, Desean Watson, I do like him this week. It's not that the Titans defense has been staggering this year. It's the offense that's actually been carrying them guys. But always in play. They are playing away in Tennessee. I expect a competitive matchup with these guys. So I do like Desean Watson. Not my favorite again, but I think he's a little bit high priced. And I don't think he's deserving of that price just yet. But don't mind him this week consideration wise. I'm kind of going to do instead of going through every single quarterback on the slate, I'll kind of spend some time just kind of mentioning guys, and I'll give kind of a top 5 of guys I really, really like this week in top 5 wise. Obviously, the game for Matt Ryan is on still for Atlanta, Minnesota. We had some scares with that game earlier in the week. Matt Ryan is going to throw the ball. They're not a great big running team, although Todd Gurley is going to run the ball some. But these guys are going to throw, and both of these guys are going virtually against defenses that both are terrible. I expected you could have a big game from Matt Ryan and a big game from Kirk Cousins. These guys could just throw all over each other. So obviously top five consideration for Matt Ryan this week. And before I get to Kirk Cousins, I'll mention a few other ones, but obviously Kirk Cousins as well as a top 5 quarterback for me this week. Moving down. Nice consideration for Gardner Minshew. I know he hasn't been considerably like one of the better quarterbacks of the slates, but I mean he's still going against a great matchup tomorrow against Detroit. They are playing in Detroit, so you don't have to worry about the weather concerns. I don't love the price. It's a little bit high, considering a couple other guys I like on the slate, but in consideration. Matt Stafford, top 5 consideration this week. I think he's going to just, they're playing at home. He's got his boy Galloway back. He's got Marvin Jones, Hawkinson. Swift is even becoming a problem out of the backfield catching the ball. So just something to keep an eye on, but I love him this week. I think he could go for 300 yards this week, a couple of touchdowns, maybe even 3. Just something to keep an eye on this week. One of my favorite quarterback plays of the week, these next 3 are probably, if I can make like a top 6, this is probably guys' consideration for that. Kirk Cousins, I expect him to have a big game tomorrow, especially if they don't have Cook. You could see Madison coming out of the backfield some. They do like to run the ball, but if don't be surprised if Kirk Cousins goes for 303 TDs tomorrow. It's not, and he's not at a bad salary tomorrow. Another guy just has been on fire. He's like the second best quarterback fantasy-wise this season so far is Ryan Tannehill. I expect the typical guys, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, those type of guys that he likes to throw to be on the field tomorrow. This guy's in another great spot tomorrow against a bad defense. Could just continue on. My number 1 play of the week at quarterback this week at 5,900 is Ryan Fitzpatrick. This guy's been on fire. He's been he doesn't shy away from running the ball. Could be the optimal play for quarterback this week. Just love him and love what he's doing down in Miami, and could have another big day tomorrow. Last 3 games, has had a 25, a 26, and a 31 at 5,900. At a price of 5,900, just can't really beat that. And I expect nothing but about the same tomorrow against a bad defense. Moving on, kind of looking down to see if there's some cheap plays tomorrow. You can consider Kyle Allen again. He's not a bad quarterback. He's going against a bad defense. I don't necessarily think that New York or Washington necessarily have bad defenses. I just think they both have crappy offenses. Kyle Allen, before he got hurt last week, was having an okay game. He's not afraid to run the ball a little bit. He did rush for a touchdown last week before he got hurt. He had a 10 before he went out of the game. So, I mean, this guy is in a position where he could probably put up a 20 between rushing the ball. He's not going to be a Lamar Jackson kind of runner or nothing, but not surprising to see him run for a touchdown. He's not afraid to run out of the pocket. So, just something to keep an eye on tomorrow. Other than that, that's about it for my quarterback plays this week. Aaron Rodgers and Teddy Bridgewater and all those kind of guys are in bad matchups this week. It's going to be defensive matchups. Even though Rodgers has Devontae Adams back this week, it's hard to call that one. I just with that price and everything, I just kind of stay away from that. And I think you just got some better options at a cheaper price and a way better matchups. Some consideration for Cam Newton. Always a threat to run the ball. Denver's got an offensive problem. Their defense is not as good as it used to be because they've downed some starters, guys opting out for COVID, guys with injuries, etc. So Cam Newton could possibly have a nice day tomorrow as well. Just stuff to keep an eye on. Just want to mention Cam Newton, as always, he's always in play. He's the older version of Lamar Jackson, not quite as fast, but the guy's so big and so dominant. He's just always in play. Moving on to running backs for tomorrow. See if I can get us back over here. First guy on the list, just loved Derrick Henry this week. He's just a big force on the field. Last time out against Houston, had a 42. This guy could every bit of get 3 touchdowns tomorrow as well. So I wouldn't pair him in a stack with Tannehill, only because they both can't go off at the same time unless he's passing the ball to Derrick Henry, and he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield that much. So I expect him to get down. Anytime they get down within the 10-yard line, he's going to get the rock, and if he can't score, then maybe Tannehill has to throw the ball. But in the matchup they got tomorrow, I just don't see how they're going to stop him from getting in the end zone. I see at least a couple touchdowns for him tomorrow, maybe even 3. Could be possibly 4. I mean, who knows? So just keep an eye on that. Madison always in a great spot this week with Cookout. Obviously, he is high priced. I do like some other guys at his price. It's just kind of hard to fit both top salary guys at that price at both the prices, and I just feel like I want Derrick Henry more than I would a Madison. I just don't feel like Derrick Henry has to share the rock as much, and when you get down to the goal line, you're not going to see somebody come in and steal the ball from him and run it in for touchdowns. It's generally going to be Henry versus Madison. You're not really sure with that. They could have a backup come in and run the ball, etc. And I don't like to take those chances when I'm paying that much for a running back. I think it's safe to say it's better to play a Derrick Henry unless you can fit both these guys. If you can do that, you can certainly go Fitzpatrick. And instead of going like a Parker, you go with a Preston Williams or something like that, and go that kind of stack route. And then that kind of gives you a little bit more salary room to do something like that. So obviously Madison's in play. If I have to choose between playing the two, I would go Derrick Henry myself. Mike Davis in consideration this week. Now we've seen Ronald Jones kind of go off on the Chicago Bears. I kind of touchy. I mean, he's obviously going to get the passing out of there. He may get 6 passes for 10 yards tomorrow. Just had to wait and see. Not one of my favorite running back plays of the week, but obviously in consideration. Guys I do like this week are James Roberson and Todd Gurley. Both of these guys could have nice days tomorrow. James Roberson catches out of the backfield, so is Gurley. The problem with Gurley is he's not on the field as much as Robinson is. So just things to keep an eye on. Like Ronald Jones this week, also like Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin you could certainly pair with the Fitzpatrick. Not absurd to think that he could get a touchdown pass. He's that type of back, and has done it this year. 15, 9, and 20. I expected him to have a bounce back game from last week and come to play this week and get in the end zone at least once this week. I'd like to say David Johnson, but he just hasn't showed me anything. He's obviously in another great spot this week. Consideration for him. Adrian Peterson is the lead back here in Detroit. He'll have some timeshare with Swift. Swift is more of that catch out of the backfield type. So you could very well see Swift as well. But I love the prices of these guys. Adrian Peterson gets in a touchdown twice, gets in the end zone twice tomorrow. Hey, you've paid off that price big time and times 10 times as much, the salary. So only $4,700 tomorrow. Other guys to think of for tomorrow, obviously James Conner consideration, some Jonathan Taylor consideration, although he's a little bit priced up still. Not in love with the price. A guy to keep an eye on, that one of my top guys that could go off tomorrow and could be an optimal play tomorrow will be David Montgomery against Carolina's run defense. Carolina lost some starters on. They lost K'Wan Short to a season-ending injury. They lost a couple of starters on the D-line. They've already been hurting on, even when they had the starters, they were hurting on stopping the run. So David Montgomery could easily go 3 touchdowns tomorrow. Just something to think about tomorrow. Could be a big-time play. We'll have to keep an eye on Gibson. Looks like he was a full participant at practice, so I expect him to go. Could be a nice play tomorrow as well if you're looking for salary savers at running back. And like I said, I like DeAndre Swift for $4,500 tomorrow against Jacksonville. Could catch out of the backfield. He had a 12, a 3, and a 15. At that price, catch touchdown, a couple more passes. He's paid off that price, and you're sitting pretty in a good spot. So just something to think about tomorrow. Another guy to consider, J.D. Mckinsey. He's been catching out of the backfield a lot for Washington. So just something to keep an eye on. He'll do me kind of a timeshare. He's playing like half the snaps, so 8, 11, and 11. That price, not too bad. And just one more guy to consider at a low price, Frank Gore. He may be in the timeshare with Perrine. Perrine's like $3,500. So these two guys in play tomorrow. And then one more guy to think of would be Philip Lindsey. Obviously, looks like you may have a miss of the game with Melvin Gordon. So Philip Lindsey, I don't love the defensive price. I kind of stay away from that. If I'm going to go down this range to play a running back, I'm probably going to go with a Gore or a Perrine or something like that to kind of keep myself safe. It's just too hard of a defense to go against, and I think you better off going against a defense like the Giants or something like that. Just in my opinion. Wide receivers. Just going to go through this really quick. Calvin Ridley always in a great matchup tomorrow. He's been hurt. I think he's better and healthy now. I expect him to have a nice game tomorrow. Not my favorite wide receiver tomorrow. I actually prefer Thielen over him tomorrow. Thielen's just been lights out. 10 targets, 13 targets. He doesn't have the people to fight for the grabs so much that Calvin Ridley does. Calvin Ridley has Julio Jones. You got Gage. You got Zacharias coming on. So you got a little bit more guys fighting for catches out there, where Thielen doesn't have that as much. They've passed more to receivers, and running backs kind of is their thing. They haven't really gone to the tight end as much this season. So I love Adam Thielen tomorrow. I think he can have a big day, and he's already had a 29 and 29 the past 2 games. I think you just go back to the well and easy peasy on that one. So top wide receiver play for me tomorrow. Going in tomorrow. Mike Evans going against Green Bay could have another guy. He's been Tom Brady's go-to guy. I like him as well. He's at 14, 28, and 15. At surprising only 3% owned. I actually like him better than a few other guys that are on this price. I know Julio's good to go tomorrow, but obviously I like him a little bit better than I would say a Julio or a Juju even or something like that. So, or even a Marquise Brown even. So tomorrow. So just stuff to think about. Obviously Julio's in play. Will Fuller's in play. Juju's always in play. Marquise Brown is obviously in play. Chris Godwin's in play. Guys I really like is Devontae Parker and Galladay. Both of these guys could have monster games tomorrow. Just great matchups, great bad defenses. Just could absolutely go off. Parker's been the go-to guy for Fitzpatrick. Galladay's obviously the big guy for Detroit. Marvin Jones has kind of fallen off the side, but don't sleep on Marvin Jones. This guy could go out there and catch 4 touchdown passes. Not unheard of. Another guy I like, Jamison Crowder. This week he's got 10 targets, 20 and a 29. He's like the go-to guy for them. They just keep passing to him no matter what. Just love him. Justin Jefferson had a big day a couple of weeks ago. Wasn't as targeted as much this past week, but they're going against a bad defense tomorrow, and this guy could catch plenty of passes. Just something to think about tomorrow as well. Terry McLaurin. A.J. Brown, obviously, for Tannehill. Chase Claypool had a nasty game last week, 4 touchdowns. I just don't see how you sit this guy and not let him start. I expect him to keep being part of their big offense this week. I mean, still at 13% owned and a great matchup at 5,200. I'm surprised he's not higher owned. I think it's just the uncertainty of how much he'll play is what scares people. But 5,200 is a nice play. One of my favorite wide receiver plays of the week. A couple other guys I like this week. Chenault for Jacksonville could have a nice day tomorrow. Chalk is still on the fence. He may not play. So if you're looking for guys to go to, Cole and obviously Chenault would be 2 guys to go to. A salary-saving wide receiver that had a nice day last week for the Dolphins. He had a 24 last week. Preston Williams could be a nice salary-saving receiver for you this week. Another guy that Cam Newton likes to throw to is N'Keal Harry. Obviously, 12 targets when Cam was in there. Past 2 weeks, Cam's missed 4 and 6 targets. But this guy could come alive again tomorrow. Only 2% on. Just stuff to think about. Travis Fulham, he's 4,400. He had a nice day last week. Going against a really tough defense this week. On the fence about that one. But if you want to try your luck and you're playing multiple lines, sure. Why not? Adam Humphries is back this week. He's off the COVID list. This guy has been a great asset for them there for the Titans. Nice slot receiver. 6 and 7 targets. He was out last week due to COVID, but is back this week. 55% of snaps. A nice salary saver at $4,000. Demir Bird at $3,500. A nice salary saving receiver. And Jeff Smith, always obviously another nice saving person for your salary savings. 9 targets, 11 targets for Smith at a minimum of $3,000. Gotta love that. Just stuff to think about. Just looking down the list to see if there's anybody else. Brandon Cooks is a cheap price, still $5,000. When I had a nice day last week. The defense isn't bad for them to go against this week. I still like him. And then T.Y. Hilton at $5,000, still a pivotal receiver in the league. Phillip Rivers has had some issues, but I mean, it's not untouchable to think that he can't go out there and come alive a game here and there. So some consideration for Gage. He's kind of fallen off a little bit since the first couple of weeks, but I expect him to be still a pivotal part of that offense. A couple other guys to mention: Golden Tate, Slayton, obviously Scotty Miller for the Bucks tomorrow, and that's probably about it for me. I'm not loving the rest of these guys down here. I've pretty much mentioned everybody I like. Most of those guys are that I mentioned are players for me tomorrow. Just stuff to think about, guys. But lots of ways to go this week on receiver end, and that's kind of been the trend here lately. Tight ends that I like. Obviously, Mark Andrews is one of the go-to guys for Lamar Jackson. Always in play. Don't love the snap share for him, but I think he's in play always. One of the guys I really like this week is T.J. Hockenson. He's been more of a part of that offense this year. Think he's just going to be a nice way to go at tight end this week, and he's not crazy expensive. $5,300 is not too bad to pay for a tight end that can possibly catch 2 touchdown passes. Same thing with Jonnu Smith. He caught 2 touchdown passes this past week. He's a big part of that offense for Tennessee. $5,200. I still like Jonnu Smith a lot as well. A couple other guys that I like this week: Ebron, Gesicki for the Dolphins. Love Gesicki. He's one of Fitzpatrick's go-to guys, especially in the end zone. So just something to think about there. A couple cheaper guys: Evan Ingram, always in play. He's got a nice matchup this week. Can't go wrong there if you want to save some salary. A couple other guys to mention: Darren Fells, and it looks like Atkins may be out again this week. If he is out, then Fells obviously in play at $3,800. I do think eventually these tight ends are going to get involved at for the Vikings. They haven't been a big part this year, but this is the guy to keep your eye on: Irv Smith. He had 5 targets last week. This past game, 10 was scored. But this guy kind of came on last year. He's playing more snaps than Rudolph. Could be a part of this offense. At $2,500 is worth a stab, if you want to save some salary at tight end as a dart throw. A couple other guys to mention: Cameron Brate, Drew Sample, and Logan Thomas, obviously. And other than that, man, that's pretty much it. All I really like this week. I really love these guys in this salary range. Gesicki as well this week. Moving on to defenses that I like this week. Love the Ravens this week. The Patriots. Obviously, Colts, man. It's kind of the same stuff. They've kind of priced up the Washington this week. For good reason. I mean, New York sucks on offense. Daniel Jones is a nightmare waiting to happen on turnovers and different things. Their defense is not the problem. It's been the offense. So I think you could go either way this week with one of these two. Both offenses have struggled. If I'm going to lean one way or the other, I'll probably lean more Washington's defense this week. A couple other defenses I really like this week. Probably one of my favorite pay down spots is the Miami Dolphins. $2,900. These guys haven't been bad on defense. I mean, they've got all their starters back. They've got the cornerbacks back. Obviously, Jets have struggled on offense this year. They had a 12 and a 12. I mean, if you're going to get them at 2,900 and you get a 12 out of them, I mean, you won that because that's what you're looking for. A couple other guys I like this week. Carolina, some consideration. I also like the Titans this week at defense. Some consideration for the Steelers, but want to mention also the Browns for a sleeper pick for defense this week. Right now, they lead the NFL in plus turnover ratio at a +6. These guys have had gotten a bunch of turnovers this year so far, and they're kind of a surprising team this season. If Big Ben can make some mistakes tomorrow, look out if you want to take a dart throw on the Browns tomorrow. But other than that, it's all I pretty much like tomorrow. I wouldn't mess with any of these other guys. Not worth the trouble. You're not going to get far messing around with those. Really like the Dolphins tomorrow. It's probably one of my favorite plays at defense tomorrow. And then going up, I wouldn't waste my time going up here playing the Ravens. They're just so high. I really think you could get away with playing the Dolphins tomorrow. And they're at a higher ownership, but you eat that chalk. I mean, it's just 2,900. You eat that. No problem. So, but anyway, guys, that's the video for this week for the final look. If you guys have any questions, as always, hit me up in YouTube, hit me on Twitter. Always open to answering questions best I can. If you're on the fence about playing a player or another player, hey, hit me up. I'll try to help you decide. Share the content, guys. Let's help grow the channel a little bit. If you don't like, if you're not following me on Twitter, I'll place that link in the description of the video for you, so you can click that and follow me over there. Guys, I hope you all win big money tomorrow. Best of luck. Hope everybody has a good day tomorrow and a good rest of your Saturday night. Goodbye, guys.